Did any of you have trouble getting in? It seemed like it took a while.
Are you sure they can see you?
I don't know.
It's
I
Dominic.
don't know.
I just logged in. I had no trouble.
Maybe that's because I was a little early.
Uh,
I had no problems getting in, but sound has been a problem.
uh,
It kind of goes in and out.
uh,
For that. Thank you so much. You're wonderful.
And I'm getting sound okay right now.
Well done. Your lunch.
I need help.
You need help for what? Don? Speak up.
But to get to see the Rotary meeting,
Oh, here, you're gonna see them?
yes. Here, second one down.
Oh, I think it's because they're sharing the screen, so you're gonna see their screen right now.
Uh,
Let me put the view.
I said,
There we are.
good time.
Where was that now? It's over here. There we
Like
are.
that.
Thank you. No.
Thank you.
Ecstasy, so. Cause I'm having a good time.
Yeah, man.
Since I'm leaping through the sky like a tiger.
Food too.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Seattle.
I don't know.
Hey,
Ask about Seattle.
Mm.
I'm Nancy Cahill, the new president of this club. We start our meetings with a song, followed by an inspiration. Today, our song leader is Dr. Raymond Tymus Jones, who is accompanied by Freeman Fong. After the song, Kathy Gibson will provide the inspiration.
Should I stay away from the screen?
Today, we're going to sing the national anthem.
Good idea. Thank you.
Can I sing also?
Sure.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we have the twilight's passing, whose broad stripes and bright for the land. And the home of the great.
Please be seated. Well, what a week for Seattle. At center stage for the MLB All-Star Game and all the related festivities. So while basking in the post-game buzz today, we can even begin to look forward to what's next for sports in Seattle. As it relates to the World Cup, I'm excited to hear more from our guest speaker today. But let's take off our baseball caps for a moment and put on our Rotary hats. We have a lot to look forward to as we start the 2023-2024 Rotary year. This annual changeover of Rotary leadership at all levels creates exciting opportunities for new ideas and approaches while promoting the continued deepening of our relationships, member to member and our club to our community. As Rotary members, we are part of an incredible force for good that year after year is not rivaled by any other organization in the world. As Seattle 4 Rotarians, it is our responsibility not only to continue, but to increase the impact of that force for good. It's through our joint efforts that we can meet the challenge of the new Rotary International President, Gordon McAnally, to create hope in the world. Indeed, create hope in the world is Rotary's theme this year. The success of Rotary locally and globally to create hope depends on how we each engage through our service, our fellowship, and our financial support. Why? Because together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change and hope across the globe, in our community, and in ourselves. Kathy, thank you for that inspiration. And Raymond and Freeman, thank you for your excellent leading of our anthem. Mary Goldie will be handling the Zoom host duties today. We thank you for that, Mary. We're pleased to have several guests with us today. As I read your names, will you please stand and remain standing so we can acknowledge everyone at the end. First, we have Allison Hinkey. She is the Executive Vice President of the American Lung Association, a guest of John Bridge, and soon to be a member of our club. We have Laura Spitz, Vice President for Global Engagement at Seattle University, a guest of David Woodward. We have Franco Del Rosario, past president of the Makati West Rotary Club near Manila. And his club received a major grant from SRSF this year. He's also a guest at David Woodward. We have Tina Vincent attending virtually. She's the Senior Director of Youth Development in the corporate organization for the Seattle YMCA. We have, as a guest of Faith Ireland, we have Adriana Clifton. And three special guests of mine. One, many of you will know as a former long-term Rotarian, Teresa Dowell, who now lives in Scottsdale, sort of the same. And she is here on Zoom. And my daughter, Lucy, who lives with her husband in New York City, is Zooming in. And my daughter, Anna, who is traveling in London, will be joining us remotely. So please give a warm Rotary welcome. I didn't want to have papers flying, so I figured on my first meeting, I would have the grace of being able to go grab the papers safely. So as Kathy alluded to, this is the first meeting of our Rotary year. Our leadership team is excited about our plans for 2023 and 24. For our visitors, I want to give you some background about Rotary. For our existing members, I hope to inspire you to get more connected with our club during this year. First, let me share some Rotary history. In 1905, Rotary International was founded in Chicago. Not long thereafter, a club was formed in San Francisco and a third club across the bay in Oakland. Some businessmen from California talked to some friends in Seattle and said, hey, you need a club. So in 1908, Seattle Rotary became the fourth oldest club in the world, which is why our club is nicknamed Seattle 4. In the years since, Rotary International has grown to more than 1.4 million Rotarians in 46,000 clubs in more than 100 countries or territories. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Essentially, Rotary clubs are comprised of neighbors, friends, and leaders who volunteered their skills and resources to solve issues and to address community needs.
Some clubs are very small, especially when they serve in remote villages. The largest clubs in the world have several hundred members. A large club like ours is able to be involved in local, regional, and international projects. So here are a few of the notable Rotary activities in the last century for our club. Fighting diseases, including the eradication of polio. Not a simple task. Now Rotary is tackling malaria. Helping establish clean water, sanitation systems, and hygiene in developing countries. Supporting education. Promoting peace. Protecting the environment. Working to stop slavery and sexual exploitation. The list goes on and should be a source of great pride for all of us. What distinguishes Rotary from other worthwhile organizations? One of our club members explained it to me concisely. He said that Rotary is not just the largest service organization in the world, but he said there is no other organization that can connect people as effectively to make a difference in so many different ways. The Rotary International vision is that together we can see a world where people take action to create lasting change. And that change is across the globe, within our communities, and in ourselves. How does Seattle 4 fit this into this picture moving forward? Like many organizations, we were unable to meet in person for nearly 18 months, starting in March 2020. With Zoom meetings, we continued to meet, but many of the service and fellowship opportunities were limited. I respect so much the great leadership of past presidents Kim Moore, Jeff Borick, and Jimmy Collins, who led us during the pandemic years, and our immediate past president, Beth Knox, who led us out of the pandemic this last year. Let us thank them for their leadership. Now, with our ability to be together, the service committees have ramped up their work and more service projects are taking place. We can now have more fun cultural events and shared meals. We've attracted new members of all ages and have added new corporate memberships. We have a terrific team of officers and board members that are excited to further revitalize our club, to be more involved with each other, and to make more impact with our club activities. Here is our theme of our club for 2023-2024. Gather, engage, serve. 3 simple action words. We start with the premise that we need to gather. For some, that will mean occasional times that we meet with others by Zoom. But we believe that members have a better chance to get acquainted with others by gathering in person. New members have difficulty getting plugged into Rotary if they rarely attend an in-person luncheon or activity. We are committed to creating more opportunities to gather, and not just at the traditional weekly meetings. You will see that we will offer events for members that are in the late afternoon or evening and not necessarily in downtown Seattle. We will explore new venues. We will have gatherings that involve other clubs within our district, so we get a sense of the Rotary beyond our own club. We're excited about not only having people get together, but to make it easier to connect or engage when they are together. We have so much to learn from each other, and we want to enhance these opportunities. Theodore Roosevelt said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." Rotarians care. Our gatherings will sometimes be social, sometimes be educational, sometimes be networking. There will be opportunities to attend music or theater performances, visit museums, or try some food and beverages. I look forward to scheduling some exercise activities we can do together, including walks, maybe some hikes with Kathy Gibson. I might even get you out golfing. This will be the engage part of our theme, and you will see our VPs of membership leading this charge with a committee that helps plan these connection points. The last prong of our theme will be to serve. I joined the club back in 1995 and immediately jumped onto 3 service committees. However, there were people I sat with at lunches who had never joined a committee. It was their loss as they missed the chance to forge amazing relationships with the fascinating people in this club. And they missed the chance to serve and help others with our Rotary projects. We have plenty of opportunities to serve, and you will enjoy those opportunities. One of the best attributes of Seattle 4 is that we are an intergenerational club with members spanning 7 decades in age. Isn't that incredible? Many people only hang out with people or coworkers their same age. Our Rotarians get the privilege of learning from people of all ages. A few people have asked me in recent weeks, are you excited about your upcoming year? Well, I am, but it isn't my year, it is our year. We need not to think about what Rotary can do for each of us. We need to get excited about what we can do through Rotary. I stand on the shoulders of the prior presidents and club leaders who have worked to make Seattle Rotary a vital part of downtown Seattle. I know that Seattle 4 can be an important part of the rebounding of our city and strengthening of our region. I look forward to gathering, engaging, and serving with each of you and in building lifelong friendships. This is what excites me, and I hope you feel the same way. Here's to a great year. Now I get to welcome immediate past President Beth Knox to introduce our keynote speaker.
You all thought you got rid of me. No, Nancy, welcome to your term. I'm so excited for the year ahead for all of us. Thank you for those great opening remarks. So I am really pleased to introduce your main speaker today. You've all heard from me along the way that Seattle is one of 16 cities in 3 nations to host what will be the very largest World Cup ever. Peter Tomozawa is the CEO of Seattle FIFA World Cup 26, the organizing host committee for the tournament activities based right here in Seattle. Now, he's no stranger to sports and international events. In 2016, he was selected by the LA 2024-2028 Exploratory Committee as Vice President and Executive Director of Partnerships and Board Relations as part of the Los Angeles winning its bid to host the 2028 Summer Olympics Games and Paralympics. And he then in 2019, from 2019 to 2023, he served 4 seasons as the president of business operations for the Seattle Sounders FC. And he's also an owner of the Seattle Sounders. He, while he was with the Sounders, he was part of the bid committee to bring the World Cup to Seattle. Now, he has a lot of interactions with sports. He's also the minority owner of the NHL's Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Welsh club Swansea City of the English Football League. I did not know that one, Peter. He previously served as partner and global head of foreign exchange sales at Goldman Sachs, where he worked for 17 years before transitioning into the civic affairs for the state of Hawaii, where he served as executive director of business development and advisor to the mayor of the city and county of Honolulu. Now, I love this about Peter. He and his wife of 34 years proudly lives in downtown Seattle in the Belltown neighborhood. They have 5 children and a grandson, graduated from the University of Michigan, my home state, as an engineer in 1983 and earned an MBA degree in finance from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School in 1993. I am so pleased to introduce to you today, Peter Tomozawa.
Thank you, Beth. As usual, Beth is completely modest. She is also co-chair of the Seattle 2026 Local Organizing Committee. So essentially she's my boss. And so I have to be on my best behavior today, and I'll try really, really hard. Congratulations to you, Nancy, for your presidency. I understand that they put me at a table where there's apparently quite a good legacy, but I also sort of think that this is the table where there's a bit of Rotarian royalty, with Beth and Kathy, and I'd like to see people try to keep up with Kathy Gibson on a hike. I think that'd be a tall order to try to keep up with that woman. And she seems like she has a lot of energy. I love giving these kinds of speeches and talks about something I dearly love, which is obviously sports. But, I had a chance to speak to Bill in the back there about, I was in here by myself and he was here and we had a nice chat. Turns out he's a season ticket holder for the Seahawks, the Sounders, the Kraken, and the Mariners. So he's never home. But Bill, wonderful. He served in the military. Thank you for your service. Thank you to everybody in this room for your service to your communities. This is such a inspiring opportunity to speak to all of you. And Beth, thank you for that very overly kind introduction. People usually come to me and say, you're CEO of Seattle 2026, the World Cup organizing group. Is that even a job? It turns out it's actually quite an involved one. And I see a lot of Beth. Beth and I actually had the opportunity this morning. We had breakfast and now we have lunch, and now we probably have some explaining to do for our respective spouses and how much time we spend together. But we had a meeting this morning with the mayor, and we had the FIFA executives come to town to check out the All-Star game. Why were they here to check out the All-Star game? Because the All-Star game is about baseball. It's not about soccer, but it's about Seattle. And we had to say, that we did 20,000 steps. So I don't know, Kathy, if that qualifies for a walk with Kathy, but we did 20,000 steps yesterday all through the city. I picked them up to the hotel. We went down to the Pikes Market. I'm a bit of a sewer rat, if you will, of the Pikes Market because I live 2 blocks away from there. So I know every nook and cranny of that place. We crashed the MLB friends and family party. We just walked in there, owned the place like we were a boss. And, the FIFA folks were like, what is this? And so we were there with the players, friends and family. I was showing them the site of the new fan festival. They were evaluating what it's like to be in Seattle when there's a mega event going on. And I have to say, Seattle came out. We were so proud. The mayor was gushing with pride this morning because the report card was amazing. I had the opportunity to speak with some of the Fox Sports executives last night. And they were just the imagery of what came on TV was just fabulous. Seattle showed so well. And of course, we had the benefit of the FIFA folks having just been to Atlanta and Miami. So they were like stunned at how good the weather was. And I said, it's always like that in Seattle. But it's actually not too far from the truth because it is like this in the summer, generally speaking. One of the things I'll talk about in my speech, but just as sort of a preamble, both Beth and I were on the bid committee. The bid committee means that we were in a group of people that were competing with 44 other cities for what at the time was 10 spots. So it was quite a competitive scenario. And people ask me, how do you compare and contrast that to bidding for an Olympic Games? I'm probably one of the few people I would say that has had the opportunity to bid for and win an Olympic Games and bid for and win a World Cup city assignment. So but it's not, I'm saying that to be braggadocious. It's because I guess I'm more like Forrest Gump in a way, sort of just bump along my way and get a little bit lucky. We did get lucky. We won an NHL Stanley Cup ring this year. So sorry, Kraken, but Kraken's got to be pretty pleased second season to be in as far as they went into the playoffs. I don't think that was projected by anybody. At any rate, that's the world of sports. I want to take you through a little bit about what we're doing here with the World Cup. I want to leave some time for some questions. I do want to say we may have to consider Raymond for a spot to sing our national anthem because that was pretty awesome. That is literally the hardest song to sing on the planet. And I think I commend you for such an amazing effort. One of the things that sort of ruined the national anthem for me is being president of the Sounders, because, you know, obviously it's not, I love the song. It's not that it ruined it for me, but I now have to listen to it in a way that nobody else has to, which is when you think about professional sports and the simple things like the national anthem, everything that we do in a sports world, professional sports, is scripted. Everything to the second, except for the outcome of the game. But everything that we do on the business side of sports is scripted. So I know when our national anthem singer is off by 5 seconds, 3 seconds, and it matters to me, but no one else knows, because what often happens is national anthem singers get nervous and they usually go faster. So when the bombs bursting in air kind of comes sort of off time, it's because he or she went too fast or is too slow to the cue. Has ruined it for me. My wife can't watch sports with me anymore because I'm watching like how the ads come scrolling up on TV. And I was like, oh, did you see that? I was like, see what? You know, so it's really kind of, the business of sports is very different, but it's very much like education. Is I don't think Beth mentioned, but I was commissioner of charter schools for the state of Hawaii for 4 years. And sports and education are very similar in that everyone in the room thinks they know everything about how to run a sports team. Everybody in the room thinks everything they know about how to be an educator because you've gone to school and you played sports. So that's kind of how that goes. I'm going to go through a quick deck to talk about the World Cup. It's something that's a topic that I love to talk about. And as Beth knows, I love to talk. It is a statewide celebration of a lifetime. The point on this screen really is that it's not just about Seattle. Our attempt is really to talk about how this is a statewide event of significance, of statewide significance. Our mission or our vision statement is to foster a lasting legacy for our region, guided by the spirit of soccer, inclusion, and innovation. That's our vision. And what I mean about the spirit of soccer, to me, despite I'm involved in hockey, I grew up playing hockey. In fact, when I first became president of the Sounders, that the press gathered around and said, Peter, what is your unique experience? Why are you uniquely qualified to be the president of the Seattle Sounders Soccer Club? And I said, oh, that's a great question. And so I said, well, to be an expert in something, you need 10,000 hours, right? 10,000 hours is generally the accepted standard of something that you have real expertise in. And I said, I am an expert at bad soccer. I have 5 kids. I've watched 2,000 hours each of really bad soccer. So I know what's not supposed to look like. That was my answer to that question. But the spirit of soccer is really amazing. And I had the chance to be in Qatar with Maya Mendoza-Ekstrom, who's also another board chair, and David Young, who's the chief operating officer of the Seattle Seahawks. And it was my first World Cup experience. I've been to Olympic Games, and I will tell you this, the spirit of soccer to me means it's unification. It's about bringing the world together. We were in Doha. We were in a country that doesn't share the same beliefs as everybody else. We were in an area that had people from all walks of life, all shapes, different colors, different religious beliefs, different political beliefs, all there together at a joyous moment in time. Can you imagine? And that's what the power of community, that's the power of sports, but that's the power of the World Cup. And I'll take you a little bit through that. And that's why I do what I do. So yes, in 3 years, the World Cup will come to Seattle, but really what we're trying to do is bring Washington, our state, to the world. I'll explain some more later. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, this is a picture of Messi, of course, winning that event. One of the things that we'll go through is, this is a picture of the waterfront park that Doha introduced to the world, where they had their fan festival. It was phenomenal. It's unique, right? I mean, well, guess what? We're introducing a new waterfront park in 2025. That will be the grand opening, but the grand coronation of that for that waterfront park, where we will really bring it to the world, will be in 2026. We talked a little bit about the history of the Rotary Club. 1904 was when the Seattle Rotary Club was built. Well, this is interesting. I'll give you a little bit of history about the World Cup. And it's related to the Olympic Games, actually. So in 1896 was the very first modern Olympic Games. A guy by the name of Pierre de Coubertin resurrected the games and started it in Greece. Of course, then him being a Frenchman, the next one was in, guess where? Paris, France. And in that time, he started bringing all the sports together and started developing the program. And one of the big programs that was coming together at the time was well, we call soccer, they call football. And in 1904, interestingly enough, FIFA was formed. FIFA is actually the Federation of International Football Associations. There are 211 members of FIFA. FIFA is also, people are always surprised when I tell them this, they are a non-profit organization. Whoa, that's people are like, no way, right? FIFA makes billions of dollars, but guess what? That money gets all recycled back to its member countries for the development and advancement of soccer in their countries. This is why soccer, I would say, is the world's largest sport. How did it come that way? Well, FIFA helped generate the money to get that to that point. Anyways, the fastest growing tournament part or the element of the Olympic Games was the football matches, soccer matches. FIFA saw this and they said, we should host our own tournament. And so they decided in 1930 to do it. And that was done in the country of Uruguay. So there is a specific reason why the World Cup and the Olympic Games do never collide. It's by design. They are on every other 2-year cycles. In 2026, as Beth mentioned, this will be the largest tournament of any kind that has ever taken place on Earth. That is not, I'm a hype guy, and that sounds like super hype, but it's actually not hype. It's actually simple math, and I'll go take you through it. As Beth mentioned, 3 host countries. It's going to be held in Canada, United States, and Mexico. For the first time ever, will be 48 teams that have qualified for the tournament. So the 211 countries that have teams. By the way, that's more than the countries of in the United Nations. United Nations. Why is that? Because FIFA actually recognized places like Wales, and other places as. I knew that would get a good rise there because there was always some cheers on that. And Mexico. So going from north to in Canada, there are 2 cities in Canada are Vancouver and Toronto. Mexico are Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City. Going from kind of west to east, is Seattle, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. In the middle of the country will be Kansas City, Houston, Dallas, and Atlanta. On the East Coast will be Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, and New York. It'll be the widest dispersion of the tournament footprint in the history of FIFA. And it'll also have the most number of matches. So by simple math, we will be the largest tournament in the history of the tournament. So typically when you have 32 teams, you'll have 64 matches. With 48 teams, we're going to have an additional round. And we'll still have the group knockout stage tournament format, which means 4 teams will be put into a pod. They'll play each other once, and that's called the group stage. The top 2 teams advance, go into it's called the knockout stage. So there'll be an additional round in the knockout stage. this is sort of the numbers of 2022 Qatar. 4 billion people on the planet watched the World Cup. 4 billion. That's 44% of the world. 1.7 billion people watched the World Cup final between Argentina and France. To give you a sense of what that means, it sounds like huge numbers. Well, it is. The Super Bowl is 175 million. 175 million Super Bowl. We think it's a huge deal. It's actually not. It's 14% bigger than the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games draw an audience of 3.5. So these are the two big mega events in the world that bring the world together every 2 years. Super Bowl, not the World Cup and the Olympic Games. But the World Cup is 15% larger. We are projecting, because of the additional number of countries and the additional number of matches, that we will have 6 billion viewers. 6 billion with a B for that. What I find even more astounding about the World Cup for this country in particular is that it was the second most watched sporting event in 2022 in the United States. That means it beat World Series, it beat everything else. It beat everything except for the Super Bowl. Now, I find that astounding because if you could recall what time this event was held, it was 7 a.m. Sunday morning in our time zone, right? That is hardly prime time. And it was still the second largest, most watched sporting event. FIFA are coming here to close the gap on, and it's actually literally I think I will say this, but please don't quote me on this because I'll say it anyways. I think there's 2 countries in the world where the World Cup is not the most popular, most watched event. That would be here and Canada. Canada love hockey, right? But I would say that that's why they're here, is to help grow the sport. It's clearly the biggest sport in Mexico, but they really are focused on the U.S. market for that growth gap. The least watched match in a World Cup, the most uninteresting matchup, despite if you're going to be Wales, I don't think it's probably get the biggest number of people to watch. The least watched match gets a global audience of 200 million. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. So, we were talking this morning, we're going to have 104 Super Bowls in the summer of 2026. This is how enormous, and it's almost unimaginable and staggering the scale of this event is. What does this mean for Seattle? We expect that we will have somewhere between 4 to 6 matches in a 10 to 14 day period. That means we're going to host 4 to 6 minimally Super Bowl sized matches in our city. If we get the opportunity to host a quarterfinal match, which would mean then we would have probably like 7 or 8 matches. The quarterfinal gets a minimum audience of 800 million. 800 million. These are eyeballs onto our city. This is why we were hunting and looking and scouting what the city looked like during the Major League Baseball starting. And everything that we looked at, I could see what the FIFA people were doing. They were looking at the lens. What does this look like? Because they're looking at the different cities saying, who do we want to feature in the final 8? Right? So if Beth and I do our jobs properly, hopefully we're going to get, we'll get what we get, but that's what we're shooting for. That's what we want. This is what I'm talking about, the exposure, the impact. We're working very closely with our community. We're trying to get everybody ready for what's about to happen here. People have literally no idea how big this thing is. And the difference between an Olympic Games and a World Cup is the people that attend an Olympic Games attend as spectators. They go to watch the spectacle. People that go to a World Cup go as participants that are there to help their nation win. It is so dramatically different, the feeling of a World Cup versus a Olympic Games. It's stunning and it's exciting, and people come here, they stay here longer, they spend more money, right? And they're more excited, and the atmosphere is, take what you saw at the All-Star game and multiply by 6. The excitement in the air is that much greater at a World Cup. We want to bring the event to the people. It says here 3+ additional events. That's because we didn't want to overpromise, but in my budget, we have 10 additional watch parties across the state. We understand it's going to be difficult to get a hotel room. It's going to be very difficult to come here. It's going to be expensive. And to make this accessible to all, we want to bring the event to the people of our state. So we will be doing a women's watch party, for example, this summer, July 26th. The women play Denmark. It's a Wednesday. We're going to have a party at the Westlake, at the Westlake Mall, because the mayor wants me to go to Westlake Mall. So I said, yes, sir, we will go to Westlake Mall. We will be in Tacoma and we will be in Spokane. And we're bringing the event to the people. July 21st, we'll be at the Bite of Seattle, and we'll be doing a watch party there. This is going to be also a month-long celebration because we'll have the fan festival at the waterfront. And this is a rendition of Pier 62. If you've been down there recently, if you haven't been down there, get down there because it's really, really starting to shape up and really look good. We want to have a fan festival. What does that mean? That's a watch party on steroids. And we're hoping to be there for 39, 40 days where you can come watch the match or matches being played, whether they're in market or out of market. There'll be things to do. There'll be whole kinds of what we call activations, food trucks and all this. It'll be a big, long party for sure, but it'll be a celebration and a way to showcase our great new waterfront park to the rest of the world. You can imagine the cruise ships coming through and seeing this activity. It'll be such an exciting time. I'm going to wrap up here by saying it's an honor to be in this position. It's humbling, and it is an event that we really want to bring Washington to the world. I want to open up to questions, or did I not even leave enough time for questions? Plenty? Okay. She was trying to give me the hook about 8 minutes ago, and so I was just a little worried. Why don't we start with over back there with the first hand that went up? Oh, you'll do it? Okay, she'll control the question, so. Just ask nice, easy ones, and I'll be very grateful for that.
Mary has a question.
Hi, actually, thank you. This was great. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm, decided to rep the women's team.
That's right. I can see it from here.
Yes. So I actually got to go to Doha. It was a beautiful experience. I got to go to a couple of US matches there. One of the big things that worked really well was their public transportation that they built. Do we have any way to possibly push some of the light rail to be finished so farther places can go?
That is a great question. You are absolutely correct. Doha had an amazing brand new subway lines that were built, a great, beautiful new bus system that were done. I actually was talking to Dow Constantine, Dow King County executive, who is really in charge of transportation around here. And short answer is yes. And we're going to try to make it accessible for all, particularly that whole month. We'd like to move people around, and not have to use cars. We, as I said, did 20,000 steps yesterday to make the point. There was a point. Normally when you have FIFA in town, you have cars waiting and to whisk them from one next. There was none of that, right? And in fact, one of our executives was saying, you need to give them a car ride home. I said, hell with that. We're going to walk them into the ground. And we did. We walked them into the ground. It was great. I was sore, but it was worth every bit of ache and pain this morning. I love not spoiling them like that. So, yeah.
Faith has a question, please.
Yes, my question is, what's going to be left behind?
So that's a great question, and we're still developing that answer to that question. But what I like to talk about is in 1962, the World's Fair came to Seattle and left us an amazing physical legacy. The Seattle Center as a cultural place, gathering place for us, and the Space Needle, which is iconic in that. We're not going to build another Space Needle unless Beth goes crazy and says, Peter, go build a Space Needle. We already have them, but we could do Twin Towers, I guess. But our legacy is a people-based one. We're focused on our community, our culture, and our children. Those are the 3 C's for us that are not negotiable. And what we want to do is bring our culture, our community, and our children, advancing their programs in and around that. I'm very proud to announce that we've made history about a month ago. We announced the very first Indigenous people to be a supporter of the Seattle, of any host city World Cup in the history of FIFA. History. And one of those legacies is they wanted to, why are they doing this? They want to tell their story and their voice to the world, because they believe that can help foster a better understanding of community and cultures if they can tell their story in their own voice. So those are the type of legacies that we're leaving. On the children's side, we have a commitment to build fields of play in underserved communities. We're focusing with the Ray Foundation, the Sounders. We've committed to building 26 fields by 2026. I guess we're gonna on target to go to 40. So actually I'm thinking we got to rebrand that and go from what's the next 26. And we're going across the state to do this. So there's a lot of things that we're working on. I'm working with the mayor on a very interesting projects, but more to come. Our legacy will be something that we're focused on, that people will talk about. And I want it measured in decades, not in years.
We have questions from the internet.
Yeah, I've got a question from the chat from Miss Anna
I think there
Liotta.
were some questions down here too.
Well, yes, but we go in
Okay.
order.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter. Anna Liotta has a question. Will there be passes or all access packages that are sold for the duration of the events?
We haven't decided exactly on the packages and the ticketing and all those kind of things. And actually the ticketing is controlled by FIFA. That's not controlled by me, so don't call me for tickets. I already told my wife that we're going to have to move from Seattle in 2027 because people are going to be so mad that they didn't get enough tickets. We're going to have to hide for like a few years and then come back.
Thank you.
Okay, Marcia has a question.
2 questions, actually, hopefully quick. Okay, one I'll just ask about, but I'm with the immigrant, I'm a leader within the immigrant communities and for, entrepreneurs, and minority businesses. So just the opportunities for contracts and things like that, how will we be able to find information for how people can start to get plugged in to the business side of this?
That is awesome question. And we have a commitment to economic development. I didn't get it into in my slides, but there's a huge opportunity for minority-owned businesses and economic development. We'll be reaching out to community leaders all throughout the city and the state. I've already met with the Waterfront Business Association to talk to them about, getting ready for this. We will have at the Fan Festival potential to have food trucks and other types of things where we can feature local businesses. When we went on our 20,000 step walk with FIFA, that was a big part of the conversation, was how do we get and make sure that all get to enjoy the benefit of so many new visitors coming to our city and our state. So yes, that is one of the highest priorities. Number one highest priority is safety, making sure this is a safe event. Number 2 priority is making sure that we can maximize the benefit of this opportunity. I will feel as a personal failure if we don't do that.
We have one more question, and it's come from Ken.
3 countries, numerous cities. Sounds like massive coordination of details, moving the teams from one place to another. How is that going to occur?
With massive amounts of coordination. A lot of Alka-Seltzer, and I'm sure plenty of Tylenol or whatever, whoever the sponsors of FIFA. I'm just kidding. We have organized ourselves around at a global level for the tournament, a national level, and a local level. So there's a real structure in place already that we're going to benefit from things that they have learned about organizing this kind of thing. This is the largest footprint ever. We are already engaged at the federal level, at the State Department for the things that you're alluding to, moving people in and around countries, but just moving people in and around this different cities and states is a massive task. It is no joke. This is going to be a big organizational task, no question about it. We'll give it our best opportunity and try. We've done Olympic Games here in the past. We've held a World Cup in 1994. All those things add up to, lessons learned, and we're very much involved with sharing of information with our previous organizers. We just had a session with the Qataris, and there was lots of lessons learned from a big country like Russia on how they move people around. It's a massive undertaking. So it says 3 short years. Doesn't feel like it. I guess it feels like it's going to be milliseconds, but there's a lot of things that we have to kind of go through. But number one priority is safety. And to that end, we hired John Diaz. Many of you might know who John Diaz is. He's the former Seattle police chief. And I offered him a job to come work with us. And I said, how many times have you ever been offered a job as a security expert to be at the front end of the design as opposed to coming at the back end of the design? And he goes, never. And so I said, well, here's the first, and he's loving it. Of course, I have these big ideas on what we want to do, and everything's like, that's unsafe. That's unsafe. You have to think about water invasion. I'm like, water invasion? What do I have to think about water invasion? He goes, because you're on the waterfront. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to, you were raising your hand from the very beginning, so I know that I'm running out of time, but why don't you ask your question? Yeah. So, first question, we will find out our city assignment in the fall. So we'll know this fall. We will know what part of the tournament we'll be hosting. We won't know which teams because all the teams are in the midst of qualifying. So there's 211 teams qualifying for 48 spots. That would be known about a year, 9 months before the tournament. That's when we'll know. But it's a significant question because who gets drawn into our quadrant, if you will, or our area or our draw is massively important, because if we get a big name team, big name meaning a big country that has fervent following like Argentina, Japan, Korea, or something, we're going to get overrun. And with a bunch of passionate followers of their team and their nation, and they'll be here in force, and it'll be amazing. And the second part of your question, which was yes. And so obviously with the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, we're working there very closely, thinking about that. I will personally be at that event to observe it, to see how it can fit into our plan over a long run. But the canoe paddle is amazing, amazing opportunity for cultural exchange and so on. Thank you very much for the questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. We have a tradition where we make a donation on your behalf to Northwest Harvest of 600 portions of food,
Oh, great.
which is awesome. And then we're giving you 2 tickets to come back and visit sometime to
Thank
our
you.
club and be able to enjoy in the audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now I get to have my Roosevelt High School buddy, John Steckler, come fill us in on some upcoming programs.
I thought I was gonna get a longer introduction. Okay. Hey, everybody, it's so good to see you, you know, even when you're at the penalty table in the back for being the last one here to get a seat. It's a good sign that we're coming back, Rotary. We're coming back. So I have a few announcements I'd like to talk to you about. The first one, if I get the next slide, is coming up, a little chance for us to get together. It's a little bit unusual, but it's on July 10th. And there we go. July 20th. It's moving. It's a moving target. Right now it's July 20th. It's a happy hour. And we're going to be working with the Lake Union Rotary Club. It's to benefit Coyote Central. It's a great opportunity not only for you to get out and mingle with some fellow Rotarians, but to meet some Rotarians from another club. This is very unusual. Tickets are $50. Obviously, there's lots of goodies here involved, and all the details are on your website. So let's go and talk about some upcoming meetings. As some of you may know, I am now your head of programs, but that's the bad news. The good news is I have an incredible program committee that is helping me out like you cannot imagine, getting some great speakers. So I'm not doing any of it. They're doing it, and they're doing a phenomenal job. First one is coming up on July 19th. We have Brian Baird, who's first I should say this. We all need an update on the Rotary Boys and Girls Club, right? There's been some changes there. We'd like to get caught up what's happening. We'll have that for you. Don't worry. And in addition, our keynote speaker will be Brian Baird, who's a former U.S. congressman. What's really unique about him, he and his group are putting together a national volunteer museum to celebrate volunteers nationwide. And he's going to talk about that, but he's also going to talk about ways that maybe we can incorporate that here locally in Seattle. What a great opportunity for Seattle Forward to maybe be the spearhead leader in creating a place to commemorate and recognize some of the great volunteers of our city. So it's going to be a very exciting meeting. Hope you join us all. After that, on July 26th, this is a Zoom meeting. This thanks to Bob Alexander, was incredible. I had no idea what Centrum was. I thought it was one of the drugs I'm taking for all of my back problems, but you know, it's not. It is a nationally recognized, here they come right now, a nationally recognized organization dedicated to promoting the arts, all arts. Nationally recognized, best kept secret I've ever heard. It's in Port Townsend. And Bob Behrman, he is the executive director, little Bob Alexander, love that guy. Bob is one of their board members. He brought this to our attention. This will be a fascinating presentation about the arts. So I encourage you to join us on Zoom. And then right around the corner, what comes in next? Our annual Seafair program. We'll have an update, all Seafair activities, and Rear Admiral Jennifer Couture. I'm excited about this. Will be here to speak about the military. So we're going to have a great program on August 2nd. And then finally, I want to talk to you for a second. You know me, let's talk. We have some, Nancy alluded to it. We have some great, there you are. We have some great opportunities coming up, coming this fall, and it's an opportunity for you to get involved. We're going to look at making a couple of changes, mix some things up, but we're looking for members who would like to help us set up maybe some evening functions that we could get together with, and maybe actually hold a meeting in the evening instead of lunch. Who knows? And then also we want to celebrate what we're really here for, right? Service. We got to get back into service. So let's take a look at how we can really focus on a service activity and spend some time so we understand it, have the buy-in, and we want to go down there and help them out in that particular service organization. So this is fallen on the responsibility of our 2 co-vice presidents of membership. Stephen Morris, where are you? I saw you. Stephen, raise your hand. Nick Anderson, I saw you too. Where were you? Where were you? I know, I thought I saw you. Nope, I didn't see you. Nope, must have been somebody else with a bald head. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I got to run. They need your help. Reach out to them, ask them to help you, and I got to get off the stage. So thank you. Bye.
I'll say nice things about Steckler next time, but especially some high school trivia about things he wouldn't want us to share. So Peter's talk was so helpful for us to learn about the next 3 years, the build up to the World Cup, but there was something he didn't really bring up. So I thought I'd have to share. The cup itself. there's a lot of history to the cup itself. And so I got some stats for us. The cup is 55 centimeters high, which is about 21 inches. It weighs 4 kilograms, which for those of us who do that, so it's 8.8 pounds. And it was built with 18 karat gold and mounted on a base of semi-precious stones. Really cool. In the first years of the World Cup, there was a lot of concern over the security of this cup. And so they would lock it up in places. And there were all sorts of fears, especially in World War II, when someone thought that Germany was going to try to steal it from Italy. And so they were hiding it. In fact, one resourceful guy from the Italian Federation decided to take it out of a vault because he thought they would look for it in a vault, took it to his home, wrapped it in newspaper, put it in a shoebox under his bed. The SS men came to the house looking for it. They never found it. So that was a good thing. But then in England, they had a fear that they were missing the cup. This was probably 30 years after World War II. And so they secretly commissioned someone else to make a replica in case they had to pretend that they had the cup all along. And when the artist was almost done with it, they got word that a dog named Pickles had found the prized cup. We don't know if this is true, but I'm going with it. Apparently, a dock worker had stolen the trophy, and Pickles was then declared a national hero. His owner, in fact, got a 3,000-pound prize, which was pretty good for a dock worker. When Pickles died in 1973, England was just distraught. Thousands of fans just mourned the loss. So whether or not this is true, Pickles is my hero. The cup lives on. We're adjourned.